Welcome to Blooming Wildwood Homestead. On today's episode of Homestead Coffee Talk, we are discussing rising food prices and 5 ways homesteading can help you reduce food costs. Thank you for joining me today. Grab some coffee, tea, water, and let's sit down for a chat and talk a little bit about rising food costs and ways that homesteading can help to reduce those. First of all, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and I hope that you'll be able to set aside some time and go ahead and think about some of the things that you're thankful for and have some time to reflect on those things. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you here in America, and if you do not celebrate Thanksgiving in your country, I hope that you think a little bit about some of the things that you could still be thankful for as we go throughout the course of this month. Since I moved out to the homestead, I have not really been going to the store and buying a lot of produce or meat because a lot of things were available right here on the homestead. We grew a lot of things during the summer, and so I just haven't needed to go and purchase a lot of produce or things of that nature. So I haven't been really keeping close tabs on the rising produce costs or meat costs. I know that inflation is occurring right now, and I have heard about food prices going up, but I hadn't really checked things out for myself. So with Thanksgiving coming up this week, I have gone to the store, and as I was there, I happened to go through the produce department and the meat department, and I was shocked at the prices that I was seeing. Just one head of romaine lettuce was $4.69. A head of green leaf lettuce was like $3.50, and head of red leaf lettuce was $2.99, and that was not even organic produce. That was just your conventional, traditional produce that's available. So I was absolutely amazed at how much things were costing. And then passing through the meat department, just even regular hamburger, grass-fed, $8.99 a pound. And I know not all that long ago it was running about $6.99 a pound or $5.99 a pound. You could even get it on sale for less than that. So I don't know if your food prices are the same as they are here in the Pacific Northwest, but regardless, I'm sure that you're seeing similar inflationary costs wherever it is that you're at. And so this just kind of helped me to realize that I'm really out of touch with what's been happening as far as some of the food prices that way. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about things that you can do to try and reduce some of your food costs and hedge against that food inflation. And since we're talking a lot about homesteading here on this channel, I do want you to weigh out the costs and the benefits of different things and what's going to be appropriate for your lifestyle. But these ideas are things that have definitely been helping me, and I think that they could be helpful for you as well. So the first way that you can reduce food costs is to grow your own vegetables. Now, I know there might be some initial cost involved in getting your garden set up and being able to purchase the seeds and things like that. But at $4.69 for a head of lettuce, I'm pretty sure that the benefits will outweigh the cost long term if it's something that you think that you could sustainably keep up and that you could do. So I would definitely encourage you to get into gardening. It might take you a bit of time to master that. There's a lot of different aspects that go into gardening, but I do think that this is something that could be extremely beneficial for you and could help to reduce some of those food costs and hedge against the rising prices that we're seeing. Lettuce is something that's very simple to grow. I know I keep coming back to this as an example, but I guess the reason I was so shocked by it, by the price of it in the store, is that it's something that is very simple to grow and probably one of the easiest things you can get started in a container, a raised bed, your regular garden space without too much difficulty. And so to see that price and then know that it's not really all that hard to grow and get cultivated. I think that it was just kind of something that keeps coming to mind for me. So even if you just grab a couple of containers and start growing some lettuce, it's going to help reduce some of your food costs, even though it might not seem like a lot at first. I think long term it's definitely going to make a difference. The second way that you can reduce food costs and hedge against rising food prices would be to preserve your extra produce. So if you decide to go ahead and go down the route of gardening, you're going to have extra produce. It's just inevitable. If your garden is producing well, you're going to have some things that are going to do really well. And to be able to preserve those items will really help you to reduce food costs during the fall, winter, early spring. It will really tide you over until you can get your garden started again next year. So if you learn how to preserve your extra produce, you're going to be able to really reduce those costs. So think about learning some of the skills that you might need. Maybe you can can some items or freeze some things. Berries freeze really well and are easy to handle that way. Maybe you are going to dehydrate some items or do some fermenting. There are all kinds of different ways that you can preserve your extra produce, and so I would encourage you to look into some of those options and learn how to do them so that when your garden comes on, you've got the skills available. I know sometimes people wait until their garden gets started, but right now we just don't really have that option. So if you find something on sale at the store, maybe pick up a little bit of extra and start experimenting with some of those food preservation options. That might help you to gain some of your skills so that when your own garden comes on, you're able to apply that to your own setting. The third thing is to plant some fruit trees. Now, this isn't something that's going to reap quick benefits. It does take time to get an orchard established and to get your trees really producing, but if you're at a location that you know you're going to be for an extended period of time, go ahead and look at getting some fruit trees put in. And even if it's just a couple of apple trees, that's really going to help you long term. And some apples are better storage apples than others, and there are so many different varieties out there. Just think about what works well for you and what your end goal is, but really just give that a try. Put in a few trees and see how much you can really gain from that, and then look at different ways that you can preserve them or store them properly in the fall so that they will last you for a little bit longer period of time. The fourth way that you can reduce food costs is to get some berries going. A couple of berries that are pretty easy to get started. Strawberries are fairly low maintenance, and raspberries are pretty easy to work with and to keep going. They do require a little bit of setup and a little bit of maintenance as you go along, but they are not as tricky as far as trying to figure out pruning or getting them tied up in a certain way. And if you're looking to expand your berry patch, maybe you're going to be interested in doing some marionberries or some blackberries as you continue on. But definitely look at incorporating berries. Oh, and I forgot to mention blueberries. They make a beautiful shrub in your yard. You can even plant them in containers. I had some in containers when I was doing when I lived at my urban location. So you can even have them in a big barrel, and they produce pretty well that way as well. So consider doing that. You can have them in town or out in the country on your homestead, and they're a great addition. Even the raspberries and strawberries I was able to have even in the urban setting as well. And then the fifth item that I have on this list to reduce food costs is animal protein. So this kind of encompasses a large group. One of the easiest things that you could get started with if you're interested in raising animals would be chickens. If you have just a few chickens even, you could get eggs, and at least that would give you a little bit to kind of supplement what you have going on. Raising meat, chickens is kind of another avenue that you could take, but it's, I was gonna say a whole nother bird. But it really is, like, it's a little bit different. So really think about what it is that you're going to be able to handle. If you've never butchered animals before, you might want to look into that a little bit more before you decide you're going to have 50 chickens and butcher them all out yourself. So just think about those thoughts as you, or those pieces as you go along. And then if you're going to go with other animals, just consider the workload that's going to be brought onto you. I'm not saying don't get animals, but just know that it's a different kind of work. Gardening is one type of workload and having animals is another type of workload. If you have a milk cow or milk goats, you're going to be more tied down to morning and evening chores, and it's a little more time intensive, and then you've got to figure out what you're going to do with all of your extra milk, which can be definitely a great thing if that's the direction that you're looking to go and you want to make your own cheese and butter and things of that nature. But if you're not quite ready for that, you might want to consider whether or not animals are a good step for you at this particular point. And of course you can do cows or pigs. You can raise those for meat yourself, and that's always an option. But again, animals are a little bit more time intensive, and so just consider what it is that you're ready to handle and what you have space for and the capacity to take on. If you are brand new to homesteading, as I've talked about before, do not start with everything. You don't want to start with animals, the garden, the orchard, and have everything brand new and going at once, because you're going to feel so overwhelmed. It's going to be hard to continue to keep going with that situation. If you decide that you don't want to get involved with animals right at the moment, you do have some other options. Maybe look for a local farm where they are raising cows or pigs and they offer different meat shares, and that might be a way that you could go, where you can get your meat for a reduced price, but you can also support the local farmers and people in your community. And so that can be a really good option for reducing your food costs as well. So let me know in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation. What are some ways that you are reducing food costs, or that you want to try to do to reduce some of your food costs with all of the rising food prices? And let's see if we can maybe get some ideas from each other as we continue to move forward. And then, of course, if you got value from today's discussion, please click like as well as subscribe. And I can't wait to see you back here next time. Bye, everyone. Beep, beep. I didn't even touch you. Okay, come here. Thank you. Welcome to Blooming Wildwood Homestead. On today's episode of Homestead Coffee Talk, we're discussing rising food prices and 5 ways homesteading can reduce food costs. Joining me today is the resident homestead cat, Rosemary.